Why the Wealth Dynamics Lighthouse? So kind of come along with me, because we're in Bali right now, and this spot is one that we picked up, and we now own Vision Villas as a spot where we run a lot of our different events. I'm going to show you a couple of little things to get started. First one is under a tree over here. We have got a guy, right? And this guy over here, here he is. He kind of looks a bit like a rock, but he's actually a little Sufi in a Sufi pose, and he's holding all of his ears and his eyes, all his senses. And the idea behind it is that basically when you close all your senses, you go from sight to insight. My biggest frustration when we created Wealth Dynamics was that we had all of these different contrary views about, should I be trading the stock market? Should I be buying property? Should I be starting a business? So the big frustration is there's so much information. How do we know what we should be looking for and when? I use Vision Villas when I'm here to do all my work and to be able to actually know where to go for what. See, right here we have an outdoor office almost. I wrote Your Life, Your Legacy sitting right over here. So you'll see that up here we got a sign which says what? And it's a question. And it's a question which comes from wood, because wood, as a wood pavilion, is the first of the energies you'll find in Chinese 5 energies. And the idea is that you can go from what to fire, which is who, to earth, which is when, to metal, which is how, and it allows us to actually get really clear and focused at what question we should be asking. So right now, I know people who are in debt, trying to get out of debt. Right now I know people who are running a business. They're thinking, how do I actually start getting my time back for my business? Some people are thinking, I think I need finance. When they don't need finance, what they're actually needing is the ability to actually flow and connect with market players that allows them to then achieve the finance. And for every one of us, most of our challenges don't come from not getting the answers, but just simply asking the wrong questions. So the lighthouse is the ability for us to really focus at one thing and one thing only, which is us. How do we make sure we get the right information at the right time? I want to show you something else over here. And then I'm going to start explaining the lighthouse, which fundamentally, if you think of it as a basis for all knowledge, that everything that we have, this lady here, her name is Saraswati. And the way that the Hindu culture goes is that there are 3 different gods called the Trimurti. You'll find exactly the 3 in the 3 wise men and these kind of things. You've got Brahma, you've got Vishnu, and you've got Shiva, which is all about creation, preservation, and destruction. So it's kind of like a 3-step cycle. And Brahma, each one of them has a female side as well. So Brahma, his consort or his wife, is Saraswati. The idea is that in order for you to, and she's, by the way, the goddess of knowledge. So the idea is that you have to have knowledge, and not just any kind of knowledge, not information, but divine knowledge. The difference, you'll see that she has a little swan down here. And the idea of the swan is seen as the only animal that can take water and milk and divide them up in their beak. And effectively this concept of distinction or differentiation or discretion, that it's not what information we can collect, it's how we divide it up to know what we should be taking and what we shouldn't. Hello, Nugget. Here's Nugget as well, coming to see Saraswati. What is really interesting about this concept is that if we look in our life at the times when we knew what to look at, as opposed to just looking at everything, what information to say, no, that's not right for me, what information is right for us, we can start to see very quickly that when we have the right mentors, or we have people who've been there before, who are applying their knowledge, so they have this ability to be able to say, no, you shouldn't be looking at that, look at this, read this book, not that book. The lighthouse is now a step-by-step which takes all the information which you'll see on the internet, all the information from your best authors, your best speakers, everything that I've experienced in my lifetime and all the entrepreneurs we're connected to around the world, and it puts it into compartments, so there's a specific space for everything. So I'll give you an example. If we were to head down this way, from the wood, which is the what, you'll find that within Your Life, Your Legacy, there's like 7 pillars, and every one of the 7 pillars takes us to a different space. So let's kind of head up this way, and let's start right here. Pillar number 1, here's a pillar, and pillar number 1, which is basically the key to wealth, the step in, is this concept of flow. That it is when we start to understand that and understand why it's not about what we hold on to, it's for what we let go of, then we go, okay, so all the language of any great sports person, any great master in their hobby or in their discipline, always is their ability to get into flow. Same when it comes to business as well. We then move to the second part. The second part is the fact that, second pillar, we now have got a series of different different branches, which leads to different language or vocabulary that we can use to express that flow. And believe me, we did not learn this at school. So this allows us to say, oh, so there is a difference between value and leverage. There is a way that I can actually understand exactly how money is simply a promise that allows me, by exchanging promises of value, allows me to be able to create whatever money I'm looking for at the right time with the right trust. We start to use different words. Entrepreneur itself, enterprise, these are words that we start to see where they came from, what's the origin of them. And if we do that, which is simply the second pillar of the lighthouse, which forms the base, all 7, we call that entry. And so what you're going to find is that anything you need to know to actually understand the basics of all wealth creation comes down to these 7. Right, third one, we can go from this concept, which is now saying, okay, so what I need to do is I need to basically have the language, to the third part, which is to say, oh, but there's actually hierarchies along the line as well. There's actually different levels. And this is what we call the wealth spectrum. So the wealth spectrum is where we say, all right, so knowing I want to ski is one thing, but knowing I shouldn't start on the black run is the next. So what are those levels? There's 9 levels in total. And you get to see what they are and how everything from how we lose our money and get into debt, into how we actually start to control money and start to manage it so that we can create enterprises, to how people become more important than the money, but how when we actually start to manage and control the teams in the right way and work with them towards a common cause, we can win any game. And it's not about the ball anymore, but it's about, again, how we score goals as a result of working in teams. And so every one of those levels there then takes us to this next one, which is this big thing here. And this is now our 4th pillar. And the 4th pillar is where we now say, as well as there being a spectrum, which is outside ourselves, we can now internalize it and say we have a specific level ourselves. And this is the key, is that when we start to see, oh, look at that, I am at yellow level right now, which means that it's all about me simply being a worker. It's me working hard for others. I can actually lift myself to green level, which means now I'm going to a player, I'm going to a performer. And as we start to lift ourselves up, we see there's very specific steps that we should be taking. This comes back down to Saraswati, right? So this is the 4th pillar. And then we say, okay, well, that's fine, but aren't there different ways to do things? And that's when we get to the 5th one. And the 5th one is when we say, yes, there are different ways to do it. And that's where wealth dynamics comes in. And for everyone who's already done the wealth dynamics profile, you know that whereas the wealth spectrum is about where we are, the wealth profile is about who we are. It's about the fact that Donald Trump makes money different from Oprah Winfrey, from Warren Buffett, from Richard Branson, and knowing what our game is. Like football is different from basketball. Knowing the game allows us to now apply the rules in a way that's right for us. And this goes right back to the natural path of least resistance, which is what is flow in the first place. When we go, oh, okay, so now I know and understand the basis of that, we then get again to now all the different branches within it, which is who are we ourselves? How do we ourselves actually now step into this space so that we ourselves are actually know exactly what our profile is? You do the test, you find out what you are, you now have got not just specifically what to do at your level, but specifically what you, the way that you naturally do things, should be actually out there doing it. Because believe me, the way that someone like a star gets out of debt is entirely different from the way that an accumulator gets out of debt. One will measure their money and be very careful. The other one, no matter how much they measure it, they're always going to go out and spend it again. But peer pressure for them becomes much more important. So there's different leverage mechanisms to allow you to ensure that you are stepping up to the next level. That's 6, by the way. That's one line that you can actually see if you head over to this side. We have number 7, and number 7 is the final part. It's the key which leads up now the lighthouse, and that's the one where we say that flow leads to fortune. Why is any of this important? Why go out and make money? Why go out and actually find ways to increase flow within your life? And why measure it through things like currency? Because currency, or the idea of current, as we create that flow, it's got to be going somewhere. So the concept of flow to fortune is the fact that it's only when we create more in our life, we can start giving it back as well. And this is the basis. This is the first part. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of pause for a minute, kind of let that first part just, and those first 7 pillars, just give us a base. And then what I'll do is I'll start again in a minute, because I think we'll probably talk for long enough already. I'll start again for a minute, and then we'll take ourselves to the next level, which is application. What that means, and I'll take you around a bit more of the resort, and as a result of that, see that everything has a compartment. This is like the Hall of Records. It's kind of like I will use different parts of this resort to remember different things in different ways, just like we do in our own life as well, so that we actually have a physical map. And it's not about just turning on the internet screen and then hoping we're going to get the right information flowing our way. It's about us knowing where to go for the right things at the right time.